Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the Sandman Season 2, Episode 7. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, without really even having to be told, Dream knew what was coming. He knew what was going to be at the end of, killing, Orpheus. And it's a conversation of I don't remember if there's always been a thing of family spilling blood type of situation, but I don't know if I think that was the first time we've ever heard the consequences of it. This is our first time knowing of it. And so he goes to his brother Destiny and he's like, I didn't listen to your advice before. I came to you for advice and I didn't listen. I ignored it. He's like, this time I will listen. I will do whatever you tell me to. Just tell me what I should do next, what I need to do next. And his brother's like, if you want to, you can look in a book. And I was like, are you really going to show him? And it's because the pages are empty. Because this kind of answers a question I had earlier in the season 2, well, in part 1 of, how much is predestined? Do choices matter? And it's like, well, yes, because I even made the argument your choices do matter because your choices are still your choices, but then it kind of feels a little contradictory because it feels like everything is already set in stone, but it is no, nothing's set in stone until you make a choice. That's when everything's written. Once you've made up your mind to make a choice, when you've decided to go down the path, that is when it's written. Not that anything's guaranteed to be a certain way. It's no, you make that guarantee by making your choice. Free will does exist for a reason, even for the endless. Even they have that free will of choice. And so at the end of the day, it's he has to make a decision on how he's going to handle this, what is to come. And so he visits the Fates. He brings them gifts, or as they say, bribes. And it's we can't change what's done. The law is the law. And the fact of the matter is, we will basically come and gain vengeance against you for what you've done. You have to pay for what you did. That is the nature of things. And it's who would want you dead? It's well, what about the mother of your child? Or Lucifer Morningstar? You have a long list of enemies who'd want you dead. So they will call upon us to basically snuff you out. Whether that's tomorrow, 1,000 years from now, that time is coming. Whether you want to admit it or not. Because everything comes to an end at some point in time. Even the endless aren't endless, as we see with this situation. So hell, even they brought up the whole point of oh yeah, your sibling Desire was all about making you spill the blood of a sibling. So of course this was only a matter of time, and just the irony behind, it happened. And it's Desire wanted to force you to do that, but you kind of did it of your own volition in a way. So, and with this reality kind of setting in, word has spread across the realms about Dream's soon to be, who knows how soon, and what is time in the grand scheme of things. Ironic, well, not even ironic, just interesting, considering we do get the personification for time in this episode, but we'll get to that in a second. But what I mean is tomorrow versus 1,000 years, what does that really mean to the endless, to all these other beings and realms in the grand scheme of things? So it's his untimely demise is coming, and just no one knows when it's coming. Even Dream, you can't really prepare for it. To be fair, it's very befitting, because why should you get a special condition compared to everyone else? No one else knows when death is coming for them. His sister has made that declaration. The only certainty that any other thing has in the world, the only guarantee, is death. Death comes for everyone. It's just a matter of that's something you can always be guaranteed for. Even though it took a long time and he eluded her because of his circumstances as a mortal, even Orpheus eventually, was embraced by his aunt's wings. So either way, back in the dreaming, everyone's wondering yo, what do we do? The whole conversation of should we build a wall? Murph's I would have to be the one that builds the wall. He's so are we building a wall or are we not? Because even Lucian's talking to Gilbert, aren't you a pacifist? He's Yeah, but it's not about fighting what's in front of you. It's about protecting what's behind you, what you love that's standing behind you. Because Nola's like, okay, we need to go to war, right? We need an army. It's like, well, the Dreaming doesn't really have an army. The fact is, it's like its second in command is Lucian, a Liberian, and so it's like, oh, what about the fairies? It's like, oh, they have an army and stuff. Like the realm of the fairies, like they have an army. And it's like, well, who led the charge in army? It's like, oh, Noah's like, technically me. So it's like, hey, we have our general right here. But it turns out Dream is like, no, don't do that. There's no point in trying to form an army because what's to come is what's to come. But he's already kind of set the groundwork of wanting to. He's already found his successor in the form of Daniel. But it's like, no, Daniel's 8 months years old. It's like, yes, but Daniel has the potential as a child of the Dreaming to be more powerful than me. So I've already chosen my successor. It's not meant to be now. You probably do want to hope to give Daniel some chance to grow up, but it's also like, it is kind of effed up that you're like hoisting this upon this child. That, I mean, the point was it's not supposed to happen until later, but also at the same time, it's like Dream doesn't know when he's going to get God, but he probably hopes that enough time will pass that Daniel will come into his abilities and then be ready for what's to come, to embrace and lead the Dreaming, you know, and become the new King of Dreams, to fill that void amongst the endless. Because prior to that, he went to go see the Pope, and I was like, oh, that's interesting, where it's like, oh yeah, the Pope is inviting women into the priesthood. I was like, huh. And then we find out, well, it's Loki and Puck. Quite interesting, and they even talk about it like two tricksters here on Earth causing them much chaos, drawing attention. But it's like they found each other, and it's kind of the thing is we don't trust each other. That's why it's perfect, and it's like, oh, that's something sweet that you can find someone you can get along with, because it's like no one will ever understand me better than another trickster. So it's quite the pair of chaos, and Dreams come to Loki on like, with that favor you owe me. And Loki, it's so interesting because even Puck's kind of like, it's not that big of a deal, is it? But it's like for Loki, who is always having to be constrained by people because he is the god, like god of chaos. It's like, and mischief. It's like, for you to kind of restrain me, that's some bullshit. So it's like, I want my freedom. And he's even trying to like spin it to Dream. It's like, come on, Dream, like let me go of my obligations, because this shackle that is this favor isn't just shackling my freedom, it's shackling yours. Like, shouldn't you enjoy the rest of your life? It's like you're just worming your way out of your favor because you're trying to spin it like, because it is a thing of we will all like, you will always be bound by something. That's kind of like what Loki said. Like, even if it's something as simple as I need you to do something for me, it's like, I don't know when you're going to call in this favor, so I'm always going to have to always like drop whatever I'm doing to do what you want me to do. And it's like, even though it's a simple thing of like, I could probably do it easily without, but it's still like the need to be obligated to do something. I don't want to be obligated to anyone but me and what I want, you know? And so Loki's pissed about it. But like I said, even Puck's like, who cares? I mean, he's worried. Like, you know, it's like it's a guy's dying wish for you to do something for him. And it's like, fine, I'll do it. But it's just like, I hate that I have to. And then Puck's like, well, do what Dream wants you to do. He's like, did you not hear what I said? Like, no, do what he says, but don't wait for him to tell you when the appropriate time is. Do it now. And this way you can also get back at Dream, because once you do what he wants you to do ahead of time, you basically set off a long chain of events that'll basically trouble Dream. It's like giving him the middle finger. It's like, no, I fulfilled my obligation. I did what you wanted me to. I just didn't do it in the time frame you wanted. And so it also gets their, gets them off a little bit, because it's like, ooh, we get to cause even more chaos to the King of Dreams and kind of pay him back. And it's like, well, it's like, yeah, he helped keep your freedom, but to be fair, it's like Loki kind of made that happen himself, and Dream basically ate it after the fact. So it's kind of almost like, why do I have to owe you for that, for keeping my secret? Okay, fine, we'll do this. So when it's all said and done, though, the thing is that Dream wanted Loki to do was, I guess, like prepare Daniel and take him to the Dreaming and prepare him to, like, I don't know what, like, maybe this favor isn't as simple as we think it is. Maybe it isn't just, hey, I'm gonna pick up Daniel and drop him off at the dreaming. It might not be as simple as that. You might have to kind of massage things a little bit. You might have to like stay by his side to assist him to some extent. So we don't know what the extensive favor, like the in full detail. We don't know all the details of what Dream asked of Loki. But yeah, Puck goes to the place that it's Rose and Lyta are staying at with Daniel, and to get close. And given the opportunity, Puck impersonates one of the servants there as the valet Simon, and ends up snatching up Daniel. It's interesting because Lyta and Rose end up meeting that woman Hetty, because I was like, didn't we meet her in season 1? And her having the 3 dogs, I was like, is that supposed to be like Cerberus? Am I reading too much into that? Because I should have gone back. I wish I had gone back to rewatch season 1, because I'm like, I swear, didn't like Joanna like have conversations with it's not just Joan, is it? Because like her ancestor was Joanna, but like is she Joan? Because she's not John. But I'm trying to remember what present day in Constantine in this continuity is. I want to say like, was it Joanna Constantine? Because that was her ancestor, but I think she's just Joan for short, isn't she? I don't remember now. Either way, I think her and Hetty had a conversation in season 1, and I just don't remember. Like once again with the 3 dogs, and she's like, oh, one of them's Shadow. I'm like, that feels like. I don't remember if she's like some kind of person in the same magical realm and vein of like a Constantine or what Hetty's circumstances are. I don't remember. But her like going out of her way to kind of visit like and run into Rose and Lyta. It's interesting too because she had referenced like, oh, like Daniel was kind of the name given to someone that interpret the king's dreams or something like that. I'm like, kind of a little hitting the nail on the head, aren't you? Hetty. And she like purposely ran into it. Was like, oh, like give my best wishes to Daniel, just before Lyta and Rose found out about Daniel being kidnapped. So that's going to be interesting to see where things go on that front. Circling back to Dream, he's, it's interesting because like probably like the Endless don't really think about it too much. That once again, even amongst the siblings, there will be an end probably for all of them at some point in time. Like none of them are like incapable of like dying, but it's just, I don't think it's a different thing when you know the clock is ticking. It's an ethereal like clock in the background that you never really have to think about. Now you have to think about it because it could come at any point in time. Like it's just a thing of you accept it is, but you don't think about it. Now you have to actively think about, holy shit, like, my time is ticking down and I have no idea when the clock hits 0. And so Noelle is telling him like, yo, if you would need me to, I will build you that army. He's like, no, I don't want you to. She's like, well, who says that things have to be this way? He's like, the law is the law. But she's like, you guys are the Endless. Like, is there someone above you that can answer this? And he's like, yeah, basically his parents. We get introduced to Time, and I think she's just Night. I don't think she's Darkness, but I think she is just Night, because I believe that's the title episode, Time and Night, if I'm not mistaken. I reckon, because I immediately was like, is that Rufus Sewell? I was looking at Time being like, that looks like him, but I don't think I'm familiar with the actress who plays Night, his mom. Also, I don't know if I talk about it enough, the like set design and the VFX artists for this series like go fucking insane. Like the transition from when he was in like his throne room to like him visiting his father, just like how that like warped space and then like it shaped into, I'm like, that is an amazing, I'm like, oh god, the visual style. And I'm sure a lot of that is probably like borrowing from the comics in that regard, because that series is known for like its visual like design and storytelling. But it's just like, just on a live action front, I'm like, oh my god, that I was just like, I get nerdy about that shit where you're just like, oh man, that's like really like, I like the inception-y bits of this show, because it's just that's that like ethereal like celestial type of shit I'm really into, like something like that. And he visits his dad, which his dad is a total and utter prick, because he's like, I don't like talking to any of my children. I don't care. I just want to be left alone. You guys always come here for something. He's like, that's why I like Destiny the most. Destiny kind of doesn't really bother me. He's literally the only one of my children that want nothing from me. And it's like, no, I came here to see how you were doing, Father. He's like, Dream, I know why you're here. You're hoping I can do something for you, but I can't. He's out, tries to like bring up the whole like, kind of like, because Dream is trying to say that he loved his son and he owed it to his son after everything, but he's also like, well, your son asked you to go to Hades and Persephone. He's like, and I didn't, and I internally regret it. It's like, yes, but then your son asked you to kill him, but he expressly knew what that would mean for you. And Dream doesn't really have an answer for that. But for him, it's just like, my son was suffering. How could I, like, as a parent, how could I just he's like, I abused my son by like abandoning him at his time of need. Like, I mean, what he did as a desperate need to like try and find some form of an end, and existing on and on waiting, where him and Dream stood, on a familial level, where it's like, this is the last time they'll see each other. So he knew that his father cared eventually. He was like, I wasn't sure, but when Joanna came to rescue him, it's like, he figured like, it's my father that sinned and you didn't. It's like, he still loves me. How is he doing? And they're both asking about each other. So there is love there, and it was real. And once again, Time is just another prick about the whole situation, because he's like, there's nothing I can really do for you. Because he's also like, did you, like, because he was bringing up the whole thing of like a child loving their parent, which even Dream's like, I do love you. He's like, obviously you don't make it easy. He doesn't say that, but it's implied, like, you don't make it easy, but I do love you. Like, what child cannot like have some, no matter what they do, what they have done or haven't done, like, what child can't, like, on some level still love a parent to some extent? That's kind of there. It's like, and it's like, oh, how can you say that for sure? Because he's like, do you love me despite everything? And Dream does. Because Dream's like, I know that because I saw it with my son. Despite all that I did and didn't do for him, he still loved me by the end and still continued to love me, And he's telling his dad, like, I'm not expecting anything from you. I came simply to say goodbye. I also wanted to thank you. I never have been appreciative of the life you've given me. Even for me being here right now, annoying you, not leaving you alone. He's like, I'm thankful for this existence even in this moment. So this will probably be the last time we see each other. So goodbye. But he's like, his dad, it did, despite being a jerk, it did seem like some of what Dream said did resonate. That there is something beneath that cold heart exterior where it's like, there's some semblance of there's something beating there, no matter how much he tries to pretend like it's not. But he does try to give Dream some comfort. He's like, if you want me to, I could go back in time and you can try and beseech Hades and Persephone for your son's sake. But he's like, but I will tell you, Hades and Persephone would refuse you. And the fact is, no matter what you did, like, your son would have always ended up in underworld. Like, there is no changing it. He's like, I want to at least give you some solace in knowing that nothing could have been changed. Everything, like, that would have happened one way or another. Like, it might not have gone down the exact way it did, but, like, that storyline would have always gone that way, And he's kind of trying to give him that solace, which you got to appreciate. He's trying at least. You didn't have to be a prick up until that point, but still, it's just like, oh. And the only thing of kindness, he's like, oh. He's like, I'm surprised you didn't go see your mother first. And it's like, oh, like, I actually assumed you went to her first. She refused you, and then you came to me. He was like, no, I didn't see mom yet. And she's like, well, kind of like, you might want to give that a try and see if anything happens. He's like, also, like, if you see your mama, tell her I said hi. And it's like, weird. And then he goes and visits his mom, and she's very like, whereas the dad is a complete another prick, Night, she's so flippant. She's just like, oh yeah, my children. She barely even remembered Delirium's name. She's like, oh, the youngest one. He's like, Delirium. She's like, right. She's changed. And it's like, they don't really, because it's like the only one that she really talks to. She even says like, oh, Destiny comes to visit, and oh boy, he loves to talk. But it's like something her and Dream don't like, surprise visits. They like their privacy. So he's kind of acquired that, probably more so out of his siblings. Probably a little more, I mean, Dream's kind of a little bit of both of his parents. Definitely you see it resonated in that regard. But when it's all said and done, he's trying to say like, I came here just to see you, Mom. And she's like, all right, let's put that all aside. Like, you are hoping that you're trying to put me and your dad back together because you think us together could work to change something. He's like, no, that's not what I meant. But is it possible? And she's like, no. Like, what is set in stone is what's set in stone. But she's like, but I can't offer you an olive branch. I could basically create you a dream realm here, and you could stay with me, so we could get to see each other. When I'm not working, and Dream's like, I refuse, and she's like, wow, you would rather die than spend any time with me. And it's like, no, it's not that. It's just I have a duty and responsibility because my life, because he legitimately is scared. Like, no one wants to die. It's just a conversation about whether or not you're petrified by death. That is something we all fear, we all are concerned about, but Dream is also bound by him being the responsible person. And I thought it was so interesting his mom uses that against his need for responsibility has always been rallied against him and used against him, funny enough. And his mom kind of throws it in his face where she's like, yeah, you've always been that. Like, yeah, like things are your way or the highway type of situation. And it's like, and it's like, oh, if it makes you feel better, you can go ahead and blame me. Because he's like, I am the way I am because I thought this is what you want me to. She's like, oh, right, go ahead, blame the parents. That's what you need. It always comes back to the parents' fault. It's like, if it makes you feel better, darling, you can blame me on. He's like, but I don't blame you, Mom. She's like, good. Then when the time comes to an end, we should, by the end we should be friends. And it's like, but you're my parent. Like people like that. That's always a conversation of, you could be close with your child, but you are your child's parent. You are not their friend. Like, oh, you could have your relationships with like your friends, but like, no, like this is a parent and child relationship. It is a very specific dynamic. We are not friends. And his mom kind of acts almost like a stepmom in a way where it's like, oh, we could be friends, right? Like the stepmom that wants to be your friend. But I mean, there are biological parents that want to be your friend versus like, no, like I'm going to be your parent. Might not always like what I do. That's where like the interesting different parenting styles and just who they are by their nature. But then once again, her being like, oh, if you see your dad again, tell him I say hi. It's like the flippantness of like, they're just disregard of like, yo, one of your children is going to die. And you just seem like, it's like, Jesus, I don't know if you can, I think you make the argument. You might be a little. I was about to compare them to Omni-Man, but I'm like, but just like the flippantness of how you can be. Yes, he changed, and so you're like that flippantness isn't as prevalent, but it's still like, even after everything, knowing that one of your children might die, that kind of means nothing to you. You kind of bringing up the whole point of everything comes to an end. Destiny's book has an end, so will you. And just like I said, the flippantness and disregard. And so it's like, I wanted to get some kind of damn support, and I guess you kind of did it from your dad, not really from your mom. It's just, you kind of got the same old. So it's almost like, was it even worth it in the end? So by the time he comes back to the realm, obviously, Noelle and the others are still trying to decide, like, yo, are we building an army or what? And then she's visited by her brother because Titania wants... Titania, whatever the case may be, the Queen of the Fairies, the Queen of Fairy, and she wants Nuala back, and it's like, because word is spread about what's happening in the dream, and she's like, why would I want to go back when the Queen gave me as a gift, and then you just sat by and did nothing? But her brother's like, but I had no choice. I have my obligations to the Queen. Like, you think I did that, like, with no pain in my heart? But it's like, you don't show it. You were just so kind of, like, blasé about it. Once again, just showing you just, like, how much family can suck. Obviously, Dream has a very complicated relationship with some of his siblings, but obviously it's gotten better. He's always seemed to have a decent enough relationship, I wouldn't even say decent. I think he has a pretty good relationship with Death. Him and Delirium definitely have a better relationship than they did previously. Him and Desire on the outs, not quite sure where him and Despair stand, and him and Destiny are probably much at a very neutral standstill when it comes to purely neutral relationship standard. But either way, Dream lets Nola go home, which she didn't want to go. She wanted to stay because she felt, it's like, you let me stay here. Because even her brother's like, oh, why you look like that? She's like, he doesn't like glamours here. He wants to accept people as they are. And it's like, oh, I hope he won't ask me to do this. Like, no, he won't, because you won't be staying. And she's like, good, because you'll be coming with me. And he could go back to being pretty. It's like, could you not be an asshole in this moment? And just for Nola, like, she was probably hoping that, Dream would probably let her stay. Because, like, why would I go back to somewhere where I'm not fully wanted, where I'm just, like, tossed aside and used as a bargaining chip, as a gift? You know, I'm not treated as an individual or a person. I'm something that can be used and bargained with. Because it's interesting, too, because I want to say, was it his dreams, was it Night or was it Time? It might have been Night who was saying, like, right, you could have a partner. She's like, I know you've always wanted one of those, someone to love and be by your side. And it's like, well, things didn't work out with Calliope and things didn't work out with Nada, so. But Dream is sending her away because he wants to protect her. It's like, with what's coming, like, it probably would be the safest place for you to be back in Fairy. And he has this really interesting conversation with Lucian, because he actually comes to our chamber. She's like, "Oh, did you summon me?" And it's like, "No." It's like, he's like, "No, like, I thought I'd, the fact is he went out of his way to come visit her, and they're talking. It's like, oh, so things with your parents didn't work out." It's like, no. Did they offer you any help? And he was like, no. But he's like, yeah, I gave them the one thing they can never really get, and that's being left alone. And it's just kind of like talking about how, once again, like, his parents don't love him. And Lucian's trying to say, like, right, but there are parents that do love their children, like being around them and stuff. And she's like, I've seen that firsthand because of how your son felt about you. And Dream also kind of alludes to, like, he understands that because how Lucian does that for him. And I was like, oh, like, I don't know. Like, I was interpreting it as him almost looking like, I don't know. I mean, it feels like you're supposed to interpret it as him being like, well, you're like a child. You're like one of my children too, Lucian. Like, you are almost like you're like my, so that's what I was, getting from that conversation, because she did smile afterwards. So it seemed like it did resonate, where it's like, they might all not always agree. Dream can kind of sometimes ignore her advice, but he does adore and cherish her. Like, she is the one he trusts more than anyone else to run his kingdom while he's away. Like, she is his right hand, his, so that's also I guess with the nature of things, I wonder what the end result be, like, leaving everything to Lucian for her to become, like, the next King of Dreams or Queen of Dreams. I'm curious if that will be the end result, because I feel like the Daniel thing, who knows if it's going to work out, and maybe in the interim, maybe Lucian will be the intern person and kind of like right hand, kind of like that advisor to the king or queen. Maybe that's gonna be like Lucian's role. It's her role with Dream, but maybe it'll be her role as advisor for Daniel to kind of guide him potentially until he's old enough and ready. Or once again, maybe just everything just naturally gets passed to Lucian. Who knows? We'll see how that plays out. But Nuala leaves, but Dream gives her a necklace, and it's like, if you ever need me, hold tight to it. And her brother's like, oh, look at this. It's so pretty. It's just like, God, you're such a douche. And just kind of like, all right, we'll be on our way. And they say their goodbyes. And Dream is telling the others, like, you could leave too. It'd probably be best for you two. But they're like, no, you're stuck with us. We'll see this through to the end. But it's like, right, you have to tell the other residents of the dreaming to, like, they might be better off going to other realms and return when it's safe. And it's like, well, when will that time be? He's like, after my death. Because as long as they are away when the time comes, they won't be caught in a crossfire. So whatever's to become of me is what comes. What comes is comes. But at least the dreaming will survive. It will hopefully be here, whatever condition that may be, and they come back home, and eventually Daniel will be the new Dream. So that is currently where things stand. It's going to be interesting to see where we what things take us. Obviously, the last shot of the episode is Puck and Loki with Daniel. So I'm so curious to see what happens when word eventually gets to Dream about this. And maybe things don't go the way Loki and Puck think they will in a multitude of ways. There's this interesting look on Loki's face where I'm like, I don't know if he feels bad about what they're doing or not. Because he's smiling like, ha ha ha. But then, like, there's a, like, almost like it disappears. So I don't know if he's kind of almost second guessing doing what they're doing and he kind of feels bad, or if he's just kind of like, right, focus on like, yeah, I got to see this through. I'm going to make this happen. I don't know. I'm so curious to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.